seems that we all know of someone that just cannot get out of their own way. No matter what they do, no matter what they try, no matter how many times they try to redo things, they always seem to find a way to screw up whatever they were trying to do. They always trip up, always stumble, always stick their foot in their own mouth. They are, in essence, their own worst enemy. Now, if it seems to you that I was just describing Marvel Studios, no one can hold it against you for making that leap in logic. Marvel is trying to build a house, and every time it lines up the nail and prepares to drive the hammer, it instead slams the claw of the hammer right into its own eye. Flop after flop after flop, after flop after flop, has brought the once mighty studio to its knees, forcing it to resort to options once assumed to be out of the question in an attempt to turn things around. Robert Downey Jr. was brought back to play Dr. Doom when Jonathan Majors' legal problems forced a redirect of the cinematic universe. Marvel brought back the Russo brothers, architects of some of Marvel's best movies, to plan the next stages. The showrunners of the new Daredevil series did a 180 and returned to the direction and style of the Netflix Daredevil series. Things seemed to be working out. Everything was in order, and the studio was on its way to repairing its tainted reputation. And then Anthony Mackie decided to open his mouth and say the dumbest thing possible.
To me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations.
That's right. A movie that is entitled Captain America doesn't need to represent America. More than that, it shouldn't represent America. Talk about saying the worst possible thing at the worst possible time. Nail lined up, hammer at the ready, right into the eye. I said in a recent video of mine that the primary purpose of these press junkets is to engender affinity among the audience for your movie. You want to keep them light and positive and exciting so that people will hear something from you and think they can find that in the movie. More than anything, you don't want to offend the largest part of your audience. You want as many people to watch your movie as possible. This is Economics 101 here. And saying inflammatory things is not the best way to pull that off. And this movie, more than any other, needs as many viewers as it can get to stave off financial disaster. The story of this film has become the stuff of legend at this point. This film was made back some time ago when it was Captain America: New World Order. Apparently that film was so badly received by internal reviewers, they completely reshot it as Captain America: Brave New World. That's right. They made 2 movies. That would be bad enough, but they weren't done yet. Last year they decided to add in a Gus Fring type character and brought in Giancarlo Esposito, the best person to play a Gus Fring type, of course, which necessitated all new reshoots. So this movie has been made at least 2.5 times, and making Marvel movies ain't cheap. This movie will need to make at least $1 billion just to break even. And there's virtually no way that will ever happen. A Captain America movie without Captain America is not a very attractive viewing experience for the average moviegoer. Despite all of that, people will go see this movie, if they're not dissuaded to do so by the star making boneheaded remarks that insult them. Remarks like this might have gone relatively unnoticed in recent years, but there is a cultural shift that Hollywood seems to be unable, or unwilling, to properly navigate. People in America, which is still the single largest block of cinema customers, have had their fill of being insulted and told that they should be ashamed of being American. The winds of change are blowing at hurricane force levels, and Hollywood needs to unfurl its sails and go with the flow. This is not that. Now, to be fair, we don't know how much of this represents the actual opinions of Anthony Mackie. Mackie has, for the most part, portrayed himself as a very likable, down-to-earth guy. He almost seems to be his character from the Marvel movies, much as RDJ is essentially Tony Stark. He usually seems like a guy that's just happy to be invited to the cool kids table. I like Anthony Mackie, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt here. These comments were made in Europe, so there may have been a poor attempt at pandering to a foreign audience at play here. This could have also been part of some notes given to him by some moronic PR agent who somehow misplaced the memo sent out about not irritating the audience when trying to convince them to purchase your product. If you listen to his comments directly following the crux of the statement, you can see that he realizes he messed up. He immediately tries to couch his comments without completely reversing them. Since then, he's released a public comment trying to do as much damage control as possible. We'll see how much slack the general public is willing to give Mackie when the movie comes out. This movie is going to be a massive flop. There's no way around that. There's practically no chance for it to be anything other than that, especially considering the pre-release box office projections. Is it possible for the movie to be really, really good and have long legs that push it into a big box office? If Lloyd Christmas taught us anything, it's that there's always a chance. But I wouldn't bet the farm on it, though. This movie has no lead-in, no momentum, and is weighed down by its massive budget. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was preachy, patronizing, and pretentious. No one wants to follow that story up. For what it's worth, the movie looks to be on par with most Marvel movies of recent release. There's some change in the basic world order perpetrated by the entry of some unsavory elements, which will require the action of some number of Earth's mightiest heroes. Sam Wilson will be likable because Anthony Mackie is likable. Harrison Ford will give the bare minimum in his acting, as is the case with 90% of his work over the last decade. Gus Fring will be cold and intimidating, if not a little familiar to all the other Gus Fring characters that he's played. It looks like on the surface that the movie will be okay, but there's so much baggage this movie is carrying that I wonder if it will be able to overcome any of it. Does anyone really care about the continuation of this story found in Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Is anyone interested in a Captain America movie without Captain America? How disjointed is this movie going to be with all of the reshoots and character insertions? Will the movie insult Steve Rogers, declaring Sam Wilson as being better than him? Just how high was Harrison Ford during the filming of this movie? All of that will have to wait until the movie comes out. What do you think? Will this movie be good? Will that matter when it comes to the box office performance? What's your favorite Marvel character? Let me know down below. Thanks for